G'day guys and girls, this is obi-two from obi-force. Today I'm bringing you a new video of my GOML defense, which you can see here. GOML stands for Get Off My Lawn, which I would like all Imperials to do. Yes, I haven't watered, you can see it's quite dry and sandy. So, let's get to the design. You can see that at the very heart of this design is the squad center. The trip zone is at the fence, so that when attacking, they have to breach the walls and step inside the base, which triggers the squad center, making it difficult to bait in most cases. There are no gaps inside the base. Where there were gaps, I have filled them with walls. The main reason for this being that once a shield goes down, any gaps inside that were under the shield become droppable zones. This means that they could drop in Twi'leks, blow up surrounding area. They could drop in the equivalent, Imperial equivalent of the Ithorian, Kubaz, I think they are, or they could drop in other troops, for example, to bait the squad center. So we are avoiding that scenario. Additionally, you'll note that the squad center is under 4 shields. Well protected, difficult to snipe, hopefully near on impossible, and the shields themselves are intentionally back from the walls so that while blowing up the walls they are not taking out our shields. Again, making it harder to snipe our squad center, harder to take out the turrets, which are sitting on the periphery of the shields. Now, in terms of the turrets, I have gone with a pretty standard design layout for what I build, and that is triangle type defense. So you can see that pretty much from any angle, 2 sonics will be activating, no matter where they come from, and they activate in pairs. And as they move through the base and get further in, the backup turrets come to play. Additionally, I have created the design central to the map. It looks like they would attack from any angle, but by far the majority of attacks come from this side here. And the reason for that is threefold. One, a lot of people will attack through the HQ because they want to get the early win. They want to guarantee a start. So the HQ looks like it is near the edge of my base. While it is defended by transports, they're easily blown up. Plenty of people do drop around here where the lats are, and you can see that their overlap is intentional so that it's very difficult to blow them up with their Vanguard equivalent without tripping one or the other. And additionally, there are burst turrets outside the base embedded, and these actually cover the lat traps. So a Vanguard drop over here may get this one, but will be taken out before it gets to my lat. Again, similarly, Vanguard over here, equivalent, will take out these traps, but will be taken out as it wanders over to try and get the lat traps. The second reason why they tend to attack from this way is resources. People are after resources. You'll note that there's one in the corner to encourage the initial drop zone. There are resources here, and it's very heavy in this corner because that's the corner I want them to come through. And the way that the walls are set up, straight walls are easier to get through than these staggered walls. So I actually want them to come through this corner to try and get my resources. And the third reason why I think they tend to attack through this way is because there are more buildings this side, and a lot of people are focused on trying to get 1 star by getting to 50% of your base. The other side is quite sparse, there's not many buildings on it, and I think that some people have the perception that if they attack through the spot with the most buildings, if there's quite a few before they get to the turrets, they increase their chances of getting that 50%. Which is not really the case. So, what else can I tell you? The buffs that I use. Now, I've designed this base in an attempt to try and last on Tatooine. I've done all my testing on Tatooine, and I have based it around... Now, originally I was looking at mortars to try and deal with the desert troops. I found that they don't work because Imperial attacks tend to mix their loadouts more than Rebels, because they don't have healing droids on the desert stormtroopers. So, instead what I'm doing is I'm using a combination of the Sonics to help take out the stormtroopers. I'm using my squad center. So in my squad center, I've got 2 sharps which are slow and 4 bikes, or I commonly also use 2 sharps, 3 bikes and 1 drab, Drabiton Saboteur. And the reason for that is that the Saboteur is slow and will stay with the sharps. The bikes will go out and help defend, and because they only trip at the walls, they're already breaching. So typically the bikes are fighting under the shields. The sharps are fighting under the shields, and the Saboteur is taking on whatever comes inside the base, weakening it with its grenade, and then the sharps take it out very quickly. One other thing to note is that most of my turrets are also set back from the walls so that they don't take blast splash damage from whatever's coming through. But also importantly, you'll note that this corner where I'm expecting most attacks to come from, they're actually slightly further back and protected by my credit vaults, which take quite a beating. And the reason for this is, as they come through the walls, the AT-AT will take on the shields, the mobile heavy cannons will target the turrets. Typically this, then this, then this, but depending on the angle that they come from. But what that means is that they come through the walls, and the other units that come through, to get to this, they actually have to walk through the trigger zone. So they trip my squad center around the time that they come through those walls, and because this one's set back, it means that the squad center triggers a lot earlier than perhaps they would intend as they're coming through, and I find that my squad center gets involved about the time that they're already walking through those walls with their main force. So the leading forces trigger them earlier, and I find that that works really well. Okay, so let's have a look at the defenses. These are all since the buffs came out, and I'll show you what buffs I'm using. Obviously no desert troops there, pretty small drop. But if we scroll down, we can see that it's doing pretty well, considering that desert troops are coming, and I'll show you this replay in a moment. We'll go have a look at it. But first I'll just show you my buffs. So under the armory, we'll jump on in. At the moment, I'm currently running the burst turrets, both of them. They're only level 2. They're sitting on the outside. I've got the walls protecting, surrounding my base. I'm using alloy. I was going to use credits. I used alloy simply because I had a few extra data frags for alloy, so that's the one I went with. And then I've just upgraded to level 3, so now I'm using the credits as well. And I've obviously got a few more frags from them recently and managed to get them up to level 5. And at the moment I'm using the HQ. Now I have 2 bases, and I do play around with different combinations. On my other base, I don't use the HQ bracing at all because I'm at level 4 armory, and so instead I upgrade 2 extra turrets. And on the other base I'm using mortars, and the reason for that is because of the multiplier. If I have 4 mortar turrets and I have them on the outside of my HQ to protect it, then I find that I get a lot more value from going with the buffs for the turrets rather than trying to keep my HQ alive, which if they're at my HQ, the turrets haven't done their job and it's pretty much game over. So as soon as I get this to level 4, I will be dropping the reinforced HQ bracing and I will be using 2 more turrets. So I'll probably swap to a couple of mortars, 2 or 3 mortars on this base. I don't find they work that great, but the buff is hard to go past. So I'll have a play around with that and see what works. Again, I've got the burst turrets on the outside so that I'm engaging before they even get to the walls and this helps cut down what's coming through. It's very good against desert troops. They do try and bomb some of these, so they might bomb this one and try and come through this way. That's okay. Firstly, my turrets are buffed, so it takes out more of their air, and if they're using up their air out here on a single turret, that's excellent because they're not using it on multiple turrets that aren't buffed, like my rockets and my sonics. Okay, so let's go in and have a look at a replay. And while it's starting up, I'll also mention that this base does quite well on hero defense as well. I have 3-starred all of the hero defenses without too much trouble. Now, I have had to use the flag, I've had to drop the squad center and the heroes, mostly because I wasn't used to how it worked. Now that I'm getting better at it, I've done about 4, and it's getting easier. I went from 28% down to 22, and then 19 in my last, so it is working very well. Now, where did he start? Here we go. As we'd hoped, he's dropped a desert over this side, and the war begins. You can see he's placed his jets near a trap, and that didn't work out so well for him. Always let your Vanguard equivalent take the traps out before you drop more. Sharps coming through. Lucky for him, that might have triggered my Decker and got it involved earlier. Again, dropping on a trap, thanks for that. At this point, he's dropped a fair portion of his troops, and it is not going well for him at all. As you can see, the burst taking out the deserts pretty quick. Here comes a bigger one, so this will be a good test. He's trying... oh, an Alaga. He's trying to throw more at it because it wasn't working. Going through one corner. Again, he's coming through where the walls are steepled or offset, and this is good for me because it means that they tend to shoot 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of walls instead of just one. Income bikes triggers everything just around the time they're getting to the fence. Shield still up, sharps shooting from under the shield. In this case, I had Jug and Heavies. I think they were my attack force. But it's all going pretty well. You can't bomb him under the shield, mate. Obviously not a great attack either. Probably he had a plan in place early on with the drop over in this corner. It didn't work out, and he tried to come up with another way of doing it, and that generally doesn't go well. So you can see that, yes, he breached my walls, took out a couple of turrets, but really, he didn't have much impact on my base. Best of all, my squad center survives to fight another day, my droid decars survive to fight another day, and this layout potentially can get me multiple defense wins. All of these, you will see, are taking place on Tatooine, and they're taking place on Tatooine during a conflict, I believe, which has now ended. I'll just double check if that is the case, that they were during a conflict. No, so they're outside of a conflict. So I'll do more testing. I'll test during conflict and we'll see how that goes. Let's have a look at this 41 metal, see what happened here. Didn't bring desert troops, so this is just a regular attack on my base, which netted a nice 41 metal haul. So the principle is I want to keep my squad center at the center of the base design. I want to take advantage of the buffs. Here they are attacking from the right corner yet again. I've got turrets embedded on the outside so that they get involved early. The shields are not overlapping my walls. I've got multiple things to encourage them to drop from the side that I actually want them to come from, and here they come, setting off my lats. And so far, this defense, the GOML defense on 2 devices, that's Android and Windows, is working very well. It's been taken down a few times only by very heavy sand trooper numbers. They've got through, they've managed to get 1 star on it. It has not been 3-starred. I think it was 2-starred once, That was very early on when I was still changing it up. So this has not been tested on other planets. I would imagine, just like this attack where there are no desert troops, it will smash the attackers. I've tested other squad center combinations. I've had good success with Hales, a Drab, a couple of Ikes. This could easily be adapted for level 10. This is a level 9 base. Most of my stuff is at level 9, so it's a high level 9 base. And if you have any questions in the comments, if you've got any suggestions, if you think there are things I can do to improve it, then leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Alright guys, thanks for watching.
My lawn off-it you must get.